Every year, month, week, frankly every day, there is a new indie game taking over social media due to its innovation, art style, or addictive gameplay loop. In August, this was certainly the case for Sword of the Sea, an indie game which was being tipped by others to be Indie Darling of the Year. The gameplay loop and art style really helped this game stand out, with screenshots galore doing big numbers on social media. At the time, I'm pretty sure I was fighting a PS5 controller to try and hear a game's audio, and jumping in and out of a book in the Plucky Squire, so I missed the opportunity to jump in on release. Therefore, when I found myself with a week's break and in need of a palate cleanser, I thought it was my duty to make sure I checked out the Indie Darling of the Year, or at least decide if it deserves this title. Sword of the Sea released on, and is still available on, as of recording this, PS Plus. Therefore, you face limited risk in giving this game a go. Now, I'm a simpleton, so please don't judge me if I've got the message of this game incredibly wrong. Sword of the Sea sees us take on a range of environments with the underlying theme of restoring our environment to its original beauty. We control a silent protagonist called Wraith, who awakens in a rather dry looking world and uses a magical hover sword to surf across the landscape. This here is the reason people have been so in love with Sword of the Sea. Imagine SSX Tricky meets Tony Hawk in a dune landscape. There is Sword of the Sea. The movement could be awkward, with so many bumps and dips in the landscape. This could be a movement mechanics nightmare. However, there was not one moment in this game I was frustrated. It just works flawlessly. You glide over the landscape with ease and feel like you are in control 100% of the time. As someone who has the balance of Bambi on ice, this was extremely satisfying. The premise of each world is to activate the ocean's seeds, which transform the dry lands into vibrant aquatic environments with many sea creatures free-flowing around you. As you progress, you will also find steles, which give you an insight into the lore of the land, skill score challenges, and secret shells as the main collectible. More on that later. There is also currency called Tetra found in treasure chests and dotted around the world once you return it to its aquatic origin. These are later spent at a vendor to unlock abilities. The platinum journey here is a straightforward one for the main part. Complete the game, spend currency to unlock all abilities, learn the lore of the land, fully restore the land, collect all the shells, and do some cool tricks along the way to get your score up. There are 2 trophies which I guess you can consider skill based: speedrun the game and defeat the final boss without getting hit. One of these took some time for me, but more on that later. In my first playthrough, I played reasonably blindly. I had taken a look at the trophy list prior to playing, but other than that, I wasn't following a guide or anything. Shortly into the opening area, I came across the first skill score challenge and earned our first trophy, Nice Combo, for doing 5 times skill combo on my way to beating the 8,000 high score target. As mentioned, we can use the Tetra dotted around to trade in for new skills from the vendor. We get another trophy for trading in some Tetra and unlocking some new spin tricks. This will help us hit those higher trick combos in the future with even bigger point scores. The environments really are the main character in this game, especially once you've returned it to its former aquatic beauty. Once you've replenished a key area, there will often be creatures that appear too, some of which you can ride. These contribute to a trophy later on, and I couldn't resist taking a look at the photo mode whilst riding this turtle. Scattered around the world are these fish tiles. They give you currency once standing on them. You get a trophy for finding 10 of these, along with a decent amount of Tetra, of course. Our next set of trophies came from the next skill score challenge, where I used some jellyfish to cheese my way to a rather impressive combo, earning the trophy Cool Combo and Awesome Combo for doing 10 times and 20 times combo tricks respectively. As mentioned, we can also get trophies for fully restoring each level. We got our first one of these during our blind playthrough for fully clearing the Lost Grotto. This is joined by the trophies for collecting every shell in a level. We did this for the first time in the Forbidden Valley. Collecting every shell and cleansing every area makes up for the majority of the cleanup in this trophy list, which I unfortunately got hit hard by. You are able to track the shells to an extent through chapter select, but you can't see which shells you've collected and which you haven't. So you end up replaying the levels all over again, following a guide admittedly, to find every shell again to make sure you've ticked them all off. This also goes for the stels and cleansing of areas, which can't be tracked whatsoever. So essentially you end up having to play the game fully twice. No, wait, 3 times. More on that later. Yes, Matt is moaning about how collectibles work in a video game again. Just make it more straightforward to track, devs, please. We progressed through the story blindly and picked up a couple of trophies for earning the drop ability, which allows you to gain speed when falling, which I rarely used, and another for taking a ride on the back of a humpback whale. I'm, as always, going to be as vague with the story as possible going forwards, as you all have the opportunity to play this for yourself through PS Plus. I will say it's a cool journey and I would recommend it. As previously mentioned, the story isn't necessarily the reason why you play this game, but it's an enjoyable ride. We fully cleansed the Shadow Tundra and rode another animal. Treasure chests around each level are another way to get Tetra. We also get a trophy for opening 10 of these. Then the final trophy in this 90-minute play session introduced yet another collectible to the game. These come in the forms of frogs that can be found in a handful of the levels. The positive here is that each frog has its own trophy, so it's clear which one you have or haven't done. In this case, we obtained the horn frog. This finished up a total of 11 trophies for an hour and a half of game time, with no guides used. Yet. I love it when games give you this many trophies in quick succession for naturally playing a game. Surely all trophy hunters understand this feeling. Our next play session saw us continue through the different lands, restoring them to their aquatic beauty. We redeemed the super jump from the vendor, which is a huge boost in our ability to traverse the land. The super jump allows you to charge up a jump to get much more elevation, which helps reach those tricky places where shells may be hiding. We rode another 2 animals in the form of a sperm whale and the whale shark, before earning another traversal trophy. This came in the form of Water Rider, for riding the water rails 4 hoops consecutively. This same momentum led into the trophy Long Distance Jumper, for travelling a long distance without touching the ground. Once you've unlocked all the traversal tricks of super jump, air surfing, I don't know its real name, and learn to use the objects around you in jellyfish or water riders, you can really get round these maps at some speed. It weirdly has a resemblance to Spider-Man 2 and the way you could fly from one side of New York to the other with such ease. This plus the environments are Sword of the Sea's biggest selling points. We found ourselves another frog, before then discovering the last of the trick attack areas and instantly getting the high score, of course. I feel personally that there could have been more of these areas. They were good fun and probably deserved much higher scores for us to chase. I'm pretty sure I did every single one of them first time. We cleansed another area, rode another whale, and found another frog, before heading into the final battle of the game. Weirdly, this final battle is the first time in the whole game where you can take some damage. Now, there is a trophy for defeating Tournament without taking a single hit. I was aware of this and did try for a little bit here. However, I was some way off being successful, and instead decided to roll credits, knowing I could return to this fight via chapter select another day. Remember earlier when I said that the game's chapter select menu only showed some of the collectibles and didn't necessarily tell you which ones you'd already found? Yeah, this is when I discovered that fact. I decided to start the game from scratch, following a guide to collect as much as I could through chapter select. My next 2 gameplay sessions consisted of cleansing areas, riding animals, finding frogs and hunting down shells, which I won't bore you by showing every trophy pop here. I did, however, tick off a miscellaneous trophy for performing all of the available spinning tricks, which are done by using different button combinations once you're in the air. So it was time to put my big boy pants on and attempt the untouchable trophy once more. I sat on this boss for 45 minutes alone during this one attempt, each time getting a little bit closer and learning the patterns of each boss phase. Honestly, you'd think I was playing a Souls game. Safe to say Elden Ring might leave the backlog wheel. Or maybe I need to put a crazy subscription goal attached to it. Let's say 1,000 subscribers and I'll play Elden Ring. Good. That's that put on the back burner for a couple of years then. I did finally manage to defeat the boss with not a single scratch on me. Hardest trophy for this platinum run unlocked. This left me with simple collectible cleanups to complete before our finale. Again, I won't bore you with all of these, but I did collect all the shells, and read all of the stale messages before purchasing the last thing from the mysterious vendor. This left us with only a handful of trophies to obtain during our final playthrough of the game. Yes, this is playthrough number 3. We needed to complete the game on New Game Plus mode, beat our previous game-wide high score in the process, have a high score of over 1 million points, and finish the whole game within 2 hours. This sounds hard, however, it really isn't. I ended up completing the game in under an hour and a half, so not even close to the 2-hour mark, and I found a way of cheesing our way to 1 million points for the high score. If you get to the area with the sunken ship, restore the area, and then freely jump between 2 jellyfish while spamming tricks, you can end up with a huge multiplier very, very quickly. Safe to say 1 million points had been hit. So the final thing to do was to race to the end of the game, beat the 2-hour mark by over a quarter of the allotted time, and the Sword of the Sea Platinum Trophy was ours. How would I rate my time with Sword of the Sea? The way I look at this, I could review the game or I could review the Platinum journey. The Platinum run was still fun as the trophies were that collectathon nature I enjoy, with some cool miscellaneous trophies thrown in, but the tracking of said collectibles was frustrating. This would probably be rated at a 6-7 out of 10. However, let's focus on the game. Even if you don't end up going for the Platinum Trophy yourself, is it worth playing? This is a resounding yes. Sword of the Sea is up there as one of my Game of the Year contenders for 2025. And blew me away with its artistic direction, amazing environments and flawless movement mechanics. With a playtime of around 3 hours for a blind playthrough and 8 hours to platinum, it's hard not to give it a go. You can play it as part of your PS Plus extra subscription, so why not give it a go now? I would probably rate the game at an 8.5, but for the purpose of our scale, I'll happily upgrade it to a 9 out of 10. I can't recommend this game enough, and I'll be keeping an eye out to see what Giant Squid develops next. Maybe I should head back and play the Pathless and Absu too.